Hi guys, this is George.k.chamoun, and in this video presentation I'm gonna go over an example about the HCSS, the HTML5 CSS3 um transition and transform example. This will be the first of a series about CSS3 animation and the transform and the transition. I'll be making more videos about this, but this is the first one. So what happened? I already wrote, I already wrote the code, and I'm thinking of going over it. And then I thought maybe it's much better to start from scratch. Maybe if I start from a clean slate. But I have the code on a side printed out, so in case I was looking at it, it means I'm. And what this code is gonna do on a HTML page, it's very basic. I have like one div, but by the way, it helps a lot if you know some basic HTML and CSS, just the very basic. If not, just follow along and don't worry if you don't get everything, because in a description I have some links. You can get the PDF files, the HTML5 PDF file and the CSS3 PDF file. You can get both if you join my email list. And once you join the first email, you get the welcome message. You can get attachment. You can get them and you can do them on your own on your home computer, provided that you have to have a code editor. And I recommend the Visual Studio Code. That's what I'm using now. And it's free and available for Mac, Windows Computer, and Linux. So let's get started. So this is the index HTML. I'm gonna start from scratch. So, but the intention is to create a code. When I hover over the box, the box you see here, when I hover over it, it's gonna do something. It's gonna rotate, and it's gonna change the color. And this one, the button, this yellow will change too. So basically, it's only to show you uh, some kind of movement and the change is done on a CSS3 on a document, and by using the styling sheet where you add some codes to it, like the transform and translation. Basically, you're adding another level uh, to the CSS3 to make the HTML document do something, just like in this case, rotate or change the color. And when you do an activity, this in this example, when you hover over the box, it's gonna do something, and in this case, it's gonna rotate, and it's gonna change its color, and that will apply to the three boxes. It depends when you hover, but that's the idea, the basic idea, that they hover and they change the color and they rotate. So let's get started. First, and this is what exactly you'll get. But in case I missed any code or anything, I may not get the same output, because I'm gonna start from scratch. But you'll get the idea. You'll get something similar. So let's get started. I'm gonna make my picture smaller, and I want you to pay attention to the code I'm writing here. So I'm gonna start on the HTML. So I'm gonna delete the HTML and start from scratch. So basically, this is the HTML, the index HTML. All delete. So I deleted the index HTML. You don't see anything on output here. And going to the CSS, the main CSS, this is the styling sheet. That's where we add the styling sheet and codes to give styles to the HTML documents, like the color, the rotation, and the change in size, etc. So also I want to erase this one, so I'm gonna Control A, delete. So I delete it. So basically I'm starting from a clean slate now, from scratch. So going to the index HTML. So the first, uh, if you never used Visual Studio Code, it's very helpful. It has a lot of options like autocomplete. It's much better than having start using a code editor that doesn't have these options, because it helps you. You don't have to type everything. So that's an example now. Uh, First, you type exclamation mark tab, and it's gonna give you this code. This way you don't have to type it. This is usually the standard when you start an HTML5 document. So we're gonna start inside the body here, the body tag. So I'm gonna create a div, actually, we start from scratch tab. Okay, so div class is parent. Okay, this is the first box. It's gonna be the parent box, and inside the parent box I'm gonna create a child box, div, and I'm gonna give it class equal child. And inside the child, I'm gonna create the button. Let me see how I did it. The button. No, actually the child is inside the parent, and we create the button inside the parent too. So div class equal button. Okay, and I just want to write the text in it parent. This way we know this box is the parent. It has the class parent. And basically, guys, when you create a div in HTML, div, and you add a class to it, it means you're gonna be targeting this div using this class, which is called the parent, and we'll use the dot parent in the main CSS, the style sheet, to style the document, this box. So just write parent here. Let's write button here, button, and let's give this one here child. If you look here, I have the so in order to see what's the output of your code, you're gonna be using an extension called Live Server in Visual Studio Code. And what you do, like, you just right click on a document you want to see how it looks like on a web, right click and open in Live Server, and that's how it's gonna look in a web page. Basically, even if you upload it to your web server, that's how it's gonna look like on a website. So we hit open. Okay, that's what it shows now, just the parent, button, child. It starts to show something here, but we have not done anything yet. So basically, that's all what we need for the HTML document. The three boxes, the divs, and each one has a class that we can target in a main CSS, the style sheet. And on the top, we have to use the, in order to use certain style sheet to for the document, for the HTML document, we have to use the in the head tag, between the head tags, the link, let's see, href, okay, if you notice, the system will help you, Visual Studio Code will help you when you type, it does like auto completion. So, and then we have to add the rel equal style sheet. Okay, so, and then we close it. Okay, so basically that's the, let me just make sure I had this right, href CSS, that's the folder, the main, the style sheet. Okay, so what we do, we add this line, the link href. What this line does, it let the style sheet main.css 40-main.css style the document, and that's how it pulls the information to show the styling on a web page, on a HTML page. And then you add rel, which is the relationship is a style sheet. This is standard. This one is standard, and this is standard. It's only one tag. You don't need a closing tag. It's one tag, you know. And the href will reference the location of the main CSS, the style sheet, and the rel shows the relationship between the style sheet, the main.css, and the HTML document. So this is standard. Okay, so now we can start with the style sheet to style the document. So now all what you see now is this parent, button, and child. That's all what you see now. But these are boxes like on a document, but they're not showing because we didn't give them any style yet. Now we're gonna give them some styling, you know. So so we're gonna start with the HTML with the main.css actually. So again, this is empty. I'm starting from scratch. So the way we target the div by using the class preceded by a dot. So basically, if we want to target the parent here, we can use dot parent and open braces, close braces, and let's give it some dimensions. So we're gonna give it a width equal. So now I'm gonna use my document. It's easier to use the numbers this way. I don't have to remember every so we can give them some width is 70 actually, width colon 70 wv semicolon, and then we'll give it a height of 70 vh. Okay, we're given the parent div some dimensions, but it's not gonna show because it doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a border yet. So all of these, they can appear now as I add the document. And by the way, the width here is the 70 WV. Actually it's the convention is 100 WV. It's the whole page, the width of the whole page. So 70 is like 70% of the whole width. Same thing with the height is 70 VH. The whole page height is 100 VH. So 70 VH, it means it's 70% of the page. So this way, when you change the page size, it's gonna stay. It's gonna change with it, versus giving it like certain pixel that will not change, certain pixel width and height. So we gonna give it a background color, background color of background color royal blue. Okay, so if you see now, we gave it a color, it start to show up, to show how it looks like. And then we're gonna give it some padding. We're gonna give it auto. Let's see. Okay, it didn't. And let me change this to 3%. To see. 3%. Okay. So basically, the padding will give it space between the content and the box. So if we leave it without anything here, it's gonna be at the edge, at the corner here. So you see that content here is right at the corner. So we give it some padding just to give it some space. This way it will be far from the sides of the box. So padding, let's give it 3%. And these you can specify each side, but now it looks like the 3% is good. It gave it spaces from the top and the left side. So we're gonna give it a margin. Let's try the auto. And what the margin does is give it space between the box and the edge of the page. It's parent, you know, container. So if we give it auto, so it looks like it didn't change a lot. I'm gonna give it more. I'm gonna specify the percentage. Let's say 5%. Okay, so we gave it a margin 5%. This way it will give it more clearance between the parent and the so, and then I'm gonna give it a border. We're gonna give it, let's say 10 pixel. 10 pixel. Solid. Black. Semicolon. Okay, so what I did now, I gave it a border and I gave it a certain width, And the color, actually it looks like the default is black. If I remove the color black, it's gonna give it a default. It stays black, so that's the default. So if you want to change, let's say to red, you can add red here and the box will be red. So let's keep it black. And the solid, it means the style of the border, which is like it's solid. It means there's no dots. If you add dotted, it's gonna make dots instead of the solid line. So I'll give it those guys, but we can leave it solid. Okay, what else we gonna give it? I guess okay, we can change the color of the text if you want, but we're gonna leave it now. Let's not do it. And what I'm gonna give it, I'm gonna make the corners with a rounded corner instead of 90-degree sharp. So that will use border radius. Let's say we're gonna give it 3%. And if you notice, it made the corners a little bit round. And by the way, guys, these numbers can change. You don't have to have them, and you can change them. Let's say you may have 10% here, and you can have a more rounded corner here. But I'm gonna give it 3% for now. Okay, so that's it for the parent. So we styled the parent div, and going back to the HTML page. And so what we did, we styled this, the div class parent, this box here. Let me see, this box, this one from here all the way to this one here. So this is the parent box, and we gave it parent. Now what we gonna do, I'm gonna change the text. Instead of having those text, very small text and very thin, I'm gonna change the style. And the way we can do it, we can go to the main.css style sheet, and we go up to the main, to the top. And what we can do, we can use asterisks, and open and close braces. And in between, we can add the style of the, what happened, just looking at the text I got. Okay, so what happened whenever you use the asterisks, it means you're targeting what's inside on a whole page. So basically, I want the font to be font family, font. And if you notice, guys, by the way, what I was talking about the auto completion, and that Visual Studio Code will help you. Once you start typing, it's gonna list for you the options. This way you don't have, because nobody can remember those options. So basically, I'm looking at the font family now. So I choose the font family, and I'm gonna choose this, the Arial Helvetica Sans Serif. I chose this one, and this is the style. It gave it this style, and we're gonna give it bigger size. Let's say the font size is extra large. I'm gonna give it extra large. This way it will make it bigger. And we're gonna give it a weight, font weight is, let's give it 900. So, and we're gonna give it, align it in the middle, give it some alignment, text align, center, This way it will move it to the center. So everything moved to the center now. So basically, when I use the asterisk on the top, it's gonna cover every element on a page unless you override it later on with different style, because this will apply for the whole page now if I don't use any of those again. But if I use any font styling, like those attributes and values, I change them, then it's gonna override this one, because the second one, like there's an order of specificity. So basically, if an attribute like covers the whole page, when you get to an element, as you go down in a styling sheet and then you'll change it, it's gonna override the first one. So, but that's not the point of the presentation now. We're doing something different, so now I'm gonna start with the child. So now what I'm doing at this point, I'm just creating the boxes, the colors, and how they look like and their sizes. And then I'm gonna add another layer of interactivity, which is when you hover, thing rotate, and that will be at the end. Now I'm just structuring the boxes and giving them some styles. So basically this is the basic stuff of styling. We did not do anything yet, like any movement, transform, transitions. So now I'm gonna give the child another style. So what we do, we can just copy. That's what's good about the code. You can copy and reuse the code you used before, but you can change the values. So what I'm gonna do now, dot child, I'm gonna style the child element, and I'm gonna use the same attributes and but I'll just change the value. So you can copy here those, and then you can paste them here, and now we're gonna change the numbers, because it will be looking the same as the parent. So okay, so again, let's give it. Okay, I gave the width before. I gave him WV. Basically, it's a portion of the width and the height of the page. Now I'm gonna give the child a percentage. We can use percentages for the width and the height, and we can use pixels, but percentages are much better because they can change size when you when you enlarge the page. So what I'm gonna use is 30% height, 30% width. So the width is 30%, and the 30% will be of its parent, which is this box here. And we can use the height also 30%. 30%. Okay, and this height is 30% of this height here of its parent. The color, we can change obviously the color. We can make the color light blue. Color, actually, let's give it light blue. Okay, so there's a lot of contrast. And then I'm gonna give the padding here. I gave it 100 pixel. Oops, 100 pixel. Okay, 100 padding. Margin auto. I'm gonna give the margin an auto. So the auto will not specifying certain values, but the system will do its adjustment, So like for example, if I gave the margin here 10%, 50, yeah, 50%, it's gonna move, it looks like, from the top and the left. But we do auto here, it's gonna, the system will adjust it, you know, it looks like it's in the middle here. Okay, and the border, we gave it 10 pixel solid black. Okay, let's leave it like that. And the border radius, which is this one, I'm gonna give it 20%. So the 20% will give it a more circular corner here, more than this one. So you get the idea. Whenever you use the border radius attribute, it has this value, 3%, 20%, and or different values. But the higher the number is, the more circular it becomes. So if I give it 50%, it's gonna be more circular than this one. Let's see, give it 50%. So it's almost a circle. So you don't want that. So just let's keep it 30%. Actually, we gave it 20%. Yeah. Okay. So now I'm gonna style the button, which is this one here, and it's inside the parent. And the way we do it, again, let's use similar values, and we change the value of the attributes. So we copy this one here, we copy this, and paste it, button. Okay, so because I copy and pasted everything, it gave it a duplicate, so we don't want that. We cannot change it. And let's give it, I'm gonna give it 20% here, 20%, so just to keep it inside in it. Or actually, let's give it 11, 10, width, height. Okay, so okay, I'm not gonna worry about the size. Why? It's what percentage is it of what? It's not the main intention of the video, because I don't know why it should be smaller. Like if we give it, let's see, 50. Okay, the number should be less. Okay, so that's 20, and this is 20. Okay, let me give it 10. Okay, we gave it 10%. I'm not sure if it's 10% of the whole page or not, but let's not worry about it right now. Okay, let's give it the background color as yellow. Okay, so it's yellow now. Just want to make sure I can hear the okay, so border radius, let's give it 10 here just for a change. 10. Okay, so I gave it a border radius 10, which made it smaller curves here. I'm gonna use the cursor, this value here, the cursor, this attribute, cursor. Cursor pointer. So okay, this attribute, the cursor pointer, what it does, it gives you it changes the mouse arrow to the pointer, like to the hand, where it shows you that you can click something. So if I go over the button, it's gonna change, if you notice, to a hand, you know. But these don't change here, but we can make them, we can make each one a hand if you want. And what we can do, instead of adding them to every element, we can add them to the main. So if I use it here inside the asterisk element, it means it's gonna cover the whole page, every element. So what it does now, I'm gonna move it anywhere, it's gonna show the pointer. So if you see, it's the pointer now. Move it to the button, it's a pointer, it will change here too. So basically, whenever you want to use the same attribute to every element on a page, you can use it inside the asterisk selector. So at this point, guys, we have the style sheet just to give us the shape and the forms and borders and the colors. That's it. We don't do anything yet. So what I'm gonna do now we're gonna start with the transition and the transform, and this is the main intention of the video presentation, of this video presentation. But what happened, I did not give you everything and then I added, because I started from scratch. This way you learn more. So now we're gonna start with the transition. Okay, now the way we do it is button. We click, we use the selector button, and then colon. Okay, when I'm gonna add the hover in this case, the hover, let me see if it's here. It should be here somewhere. This is the hover here. So basically, guys, when you use a class and you add a colon and then you add another element, this is the activity. It means what you're gonna be doing. So, and there's a lot of options here, but in my case, I'm gonna use the hover effect, where when I hover over the box, something will happen. So we're gonna use hover, HOVR. Again, this code and what it does, I tried it before and it worked. Now I'm just recreating the code to show you how it works. And again, if you look in a description, you can join my list and you can get the codes, the PDF and the main.css, and you can add and create it on your computer if you want to learn it. Because now you're watching me do it, but there is nothing like you're doing it yourself on your own computer to see how it works, and you make mistakes and you correct. That's how you learn. So and please remember, nobody can remember everything. You just have to keep looking at references. But as long as you know what steps you have to use and where you find the information. So now, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna do a transition for this button. Okay, so what we do, dot button, colon hover, open close braces, and now we're gonna use the background color red. Background color is red. Now what's gonna happen now? The transition is a way for an element to change its state from the original state to a new state, and where you specify the first state and the second state. So basically now, the original state of the button is a yellow color, yellow and these sizes, and now we can change it to a red color when we hover over the button. So now what's gonna happen? When I hover over it, it's gonna change to red. You see? So this is what's important about the transition, transform, and animation. It lets you change things on a web page instead of having it static without doing anything. Now, just want to make sure I can hear the okay. So now what happened? It's doing this, and that's not a good practice where it switched quickly, you know, to a different color. And the best way is to make it switch gradually, and this is when you use the transition. And this is the transition. You use the transition attribute. Again, if you look at the transition, there are so many elements. You have the delay, duration, property, timing function. And if you use just the transition, you can add like the four element. Okay. Okay, so usually the way you use the transition, you can add four values. The first one is yeah, so okay, so I'm gonna specify how long the transition will be. Let's say I want it to be 5 seconds. 5s, right? 5s. So I'm gonna go over it, and if you look, it takes, this is the transition duration. It takes 5 seconds. It does the transition from blue to red in 5 seconds. This is why what I specified here, 5 seconds. So if I hover over it, it's gonna take 5 seconds, and this is much better than doing it without anything. Like if I use 0 seconds, it's gonna switch quickly, abruptly, which is not good, you know. So if you use, let's say, 3 seconds, you go over it and it's gonna switch gradually to the red color from one state to another. And now what we can use, there's something called the ease in and out. The ease in and out is the just to make sure, transition is actually yeah, I'm just trying to remember the okay, so 2 seconds, this is the duration. So I want that transition to happen in a duration of 5 seconds, and this is what you specify. Then you want it, there are options, it's called I think the timing function, where you use like ease in and out or ease in, ease out. These are details you can find online if you Google them, you know. So what it means, you want if you want the transition to start gradual and then it's gonna be like faster at the end, you use ease in. Now if you want to use ease out, it means you want it to go fast, start fast, and then slow down gradually. And a good practice is to use ease in and out. It means start gradual, go fast, and when you get to the end, go gradual, stop gradually. So ease, we're gonna use ease. You see, you have ease in, ease out, ease in and out. So let's use ease in and out, you know. And then we can use now timing, like the delay. There's a delay you can use. The delay is when you want the transition to start. Let's say I want the transition to start in 2 seconds. So when I hover over the box, it's gonna take 2 seconds to start the transition. That takes 5 seconds to end, and it's gonna be doing it in a way ease in and out. Let me show you now. It's gonna be delayed. This is the delay here, the 2 second, and it doesn't start immediately. It takes 2 seconds, then it starts. So I hover over it. You see, it took some time to start, which is 2 seconds, you know. And if, let's say, I wanted to start after 5 seconds, this is 5 seconds, and I want it to take 10 seconds. So I'm gonna come here and hover over the button, and it's gonna make me wait it's gonna wait 5 seconds to start the transition, which will take 10 seconds. That's the timing here, and it's gonna be easing in and out. It starts gradual, it goes fast, and it ends gradually. So let me show you now. I'm gonna hover over the button now, the yellow button, and see how long it's gonna take. It's gonna take 5 seconds to start the transition, and then it takes 10 seconds to do it. So I hovered over it. You see how long it's taken? It started now, so it took 5 seconds to start, and now it's taken 10 seconds to convert from yellow to red. So this is an example of the transition where we change the background color. You can change so many attributes, but in this case now we're just changing the color. Now I'm gonna change the color of the child, and we're gonna use the same codes, and we just change the child to the child element. So I paste it here, and I'm gonna use child element, child, hover, and then I'm gonna change, let's use the background color as green, not red, just green, and let's do the same thing. Let's keep the transition 10 second and 10 second, and the delay is 5 seconds, and it's gonna ease in and out. So now I'm gonna hover over the child element, and it's gonna be doing the same thing, but instead of changing to red, it's gonna change to green because I'm using the green color as the final state. So I'm gonna hover over it, and again it's gonna take 5 seconds to start because there is a delay, and when it starts it's gonna take 10 seconds to do that transition. So hover over it. So now it's gonna take 5 seconds to start it changing the color to green, and when it starts it's gonna do the transition for 10 seconds, and this is it. So basically it's the same as we did before. Now I'm gonna do the parent here. So the parent, and I'm gonna use for the parent, let's say the violet color, the violet, which is this one here. And again, I'm gonna use, let's use the duration 5 seconds, and I'm gonna use the delay 1 second. So this is gonna be a little bit different. Now I'm gonna hover over the parent, which is the big box, the blue box, and it's gonna change to violet. The delay will be 1 second to start, and it's gonna take 5 second duration to convert from this color, the blue, the light blue, I think, and to the what is it called, the royal blue, to the violet. Let me hover over it. So it changed to violet, to this color. Okay, so that's it for the transition. That's an example of the transition, but there are so many examples, so many variations of the attribute and their values. But in this case, I just use the color, just to give you an example how to use it and how to build the code. Now we can use the transform. The transform will make a change, either rotating or changing shapes, and in this case I'm gonna use the rotation, the transform rotation. And the way we use it is the transform. I'm gonna start with the button here. I'm gonna use the transform, and I'm gonna use the rotating around the x axis, rotate around the x, and I'm gonna give it, let's say, 360 degrees. So what's gonna happen now? We added another element of styling or making a change for the element. It's the transform. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hover over the button. It's gonna still transition to the red color, but now in addition with the transform attributes and the value rotate x 360 degrees, it's gonna rotate around the x axis 360 degrees, and watch how it's gonna do now. So basically it's doing two things now. So I'm gonna hover over the button. You see now it starts to rotate. So basically it rotated 360, and it looks like the system will look at the x-axis this way, the horizontal axis. And let's say if we use the y-axis, and hover over it, okay, the y-axis, it's gonna rotate like that. Let's try the z-axis. I have the feeling it's gonna rotate this way. Okay, so basically this is the z-axis, x, y, and z, x, y, and z. So the z is coming out of the plane towards me or away. So that's what the axis. So basically, this is the let's do it for the child too. The child, we're gonna do the child. We're gonna give it a transform, and let's give it a different axis X, and let's give it a different angle. We're gonna give it a 90-degree angle, and let's see what it does here if we hover over the child. So the child will rotate 90 degrees around the X axis, and now it's gonna disappear because it's gonna become one line, you see. So but if we do it like, let's say 270, it's not gonna disappear. Okay, so now we did the rotation, the transform and rotation for the button and the child, but we didn't do it for the parent. Let's do it for the parent now. So with the parent, we can use the y-axis. Let's use the y-axis. The y-axis, and let's use 45 degrees. So if I'm gonna hover over the parent now, it's gonna change color and it's gonna rotate 45 degrees. And let's see if it rotates 360 degrees. You see it rotate 360 degrees and it changed color. So basically that's it, guys. That's how you use the transition. That's a transition example and the transform in CSS3, and you have to have obviously HTML document and the style sheet. Again, this code, the HTML page and the styling sheet, both the main.css, the index. They are available in a PDF format if you join my list, and the link is in the bottom of the video here. You just go add your name and your email address, and you can get a message with the attachment. And if you are serious about learning, do that. If you're not serious, there's no sense to download them. And if you have any questions, please submit them in a comment or email me. I have my email in the description below, or make an appointment, or you can connect with me on Twitter. So everything is in the bottom. So again, thanks for your time, and have a great day.